paintbrushes. I have not really always put very much importance on paintbrushes. I think maybe because I paint predominantly with watercolour, I've always invested in good quality watercolour paper and good quality watercolour paints. I've really found that I don't use that many brushes for watercolour when I'm painting, and it's taken me quite a while to figure out actually what I do need. And do you know what? Having a lot of brushes, I think, especially for a beginner, it can be really quite confusing. You've got all these different shapes and different materials. Do you go synthetic? Do you go natural hair? You know, you've got them for watercolour, oil, acrylic. What do you use for gouache? Like, there's a lot of options for brushes, and it can be really confusing. And I don't have a lot of brushes, but it's easier to get them mixed up, and it's hard remembering which one is which and what you can use for which medium. I wanted to show you my system for organising my brushes and how I identify them as synthetic brushes or as natural hair brushes, mainly to make sure that I don't ruin my natural hair brushes, because I've got acrylic gouache and I have got acrylic paints. And if anyone uses acrylic paint with natural hairs, it's hard to wash off and it can really ruin them quickly. So it's best to use synthetic. Anyway, so I've labelled that. I've labelled my brushes. Let's start with the watercolour brushes, shall we? These are all of the watercolour brushes that I own, and I haven't even used all of these yet. And all I've done to label them is use these little stickers. Can you see that? Not really. Right, I can't get my camera to focus on the paintbrush, so you're just going to have a close-up of my face and the sticker. Enjoy! So yeah, little stickers. Now, the green ones I am using for synthetic brushes. For the watercolour brushes or the natural hair brushes like the Sable, Kalinsky, Squirrel, whatever natural hair it is, I'm using a blue sticker. Here we go. Blue sticker, see? Now, you get brushes that are mixed, so a mix of synthetic and natural hair, and for those brushes, I've just used 2 stickers. There you go. 2 stickers. Now, the last stickers I've got are for acrylic brushes, and for those, I have just used pink stickers. Acrylic brushes. But yeah, you get the point. I put stickers on my brushes so I can pick them out easily for whatever medium I'm using. Simple enough, right? You literally just stick stickers on the end of your brushes and you make sure that you don't accidentally ruin any natural hair brushes you have by using them with acrylic or acrylic gouache. Also, if you can see that cut on my lip, that is where my 1-year-old head-butted me full force and almost knocked my teeth out. So yeah, children are a blessing. Now that we are no longer uncomfortably close, I wanted to show you through my brush collection. My old ones, my favourite ones, and my new ones. So here are my watercolour brushes, and we're starting here because these are the ones I'm most enthusiastic about. So, come back. Right, so I have some new brushes here and I have some old brushes here. So let's start with my oldest brushes that I have. These are my oldest brushes. These are the first brushes I ever got, and they are the Winsor & Newton Cotman set. So they are synthetic watercolour brushes. You can see they're all messed up, or I've not looked after them very well. They're all stained and discoloured from lots and lots of use. Yes, love these brushes as a beginner. Highly recommend if you're starting out the Cotman brushes just for dipping your toes into watercolour. After those, I decided to get some better brushes, and I quickly moved on to this little selection here. Now, these are my travel brushes, and they are from a range of companies. This one is a Skoda Versatile, so it is the synthetic version of their water brushes, basically. I also got this one to try, which is the Skoda Rivera, which is the natural, I think it's Sable or Kalinsky, it might even be, brush. These are probably 2 of my favourite and most used watercolour brushes. These are the Adobe travel brushes. I think they just come in a little 2 set. They are natural hair brushes. I think these are sable. I love these. I've used these most alongside this brush, which is a relatively new brush. I've only had this for about 6 months, but I basically use it for everything. And it's a Da Vinci Artissimo mop type brush. I think it's a limited edition. I think it's some artist, Jebber. I don't know what that says, but I like his brush basically. Yeah, Artissimo edition. Yeah, I really, really love this brush. I got this really cheap when a art store was closing down. I think it was something like 40-50 quid, and I got it for like £10. And I just absolutely love it. So yeah, I think this is probably my favourite brush. The other travel brush I have is the Rosemary & Co. angled brush. Really, really love this. I also have a mop brush somewhere. I'm not sure where that is. But yeah, same brand. A new brush I've got in the travel version is the Eradicator brush from Rosemary & Co. And this is for taking out highlights in your watercolour, so just for picking up the paint. So those were what I moved on to next. And for at home, I went through a stage of painting really little tiny things in little sort of A5, A6 sketchbooks, and even smaller. So I got some really little brushes, and these brushes are just heavenly, although they are really expensive. These are the Winsor & Newton Series 7 Finest Sable brushes. And as you can see, this is a really tiny little one. These are obviously all natural hair, and I got a range of sizes that came in this case. And I love these. These are just amazing to use, and for such tiny brushes, they hold so much water. The other brushes I have in here are ones that these I got secondhand. I haven't even really used these. This brush I really like, the Silver Black Velvet Striper brush. I want to call it a strip brush, but yeah, striper brush. This one I've used quite a lot as well. This is one I used to take out a lot. This is a Kolinsky Sable 1 stroke, 1 centimetre flat brush. And then I have this very long weird brush. There's even some tinier little brushes here from Pro Art, and they are both sable brushes. Teeny little brushes that I used for details when I was doing those really small little paintings. And actually, I really love this set. I just keep them away so that it's less likely that they're going to get damaged. And because they are the natural hair brushes, I just try and keep them safe in this little case. For the rest of my watercolour brushes, I have a selection of Scepter Gold 2 watercolour brushes. I think these are Winsor & Newton. No, they're not. They are Winsor & Newton, yeah. And these are a mix of synthetic and natural hair. I mean, you can see I've used these a lot. These are really lovely brushes. They're a bit more snappy than some of the other brushes that I've got that hold a lot. I mean, these hold a lot of water, but a lot of the other brushes, like the mop brushes and that, are really, really soft. These are a bit better for getting a little bit more detail. So yeah, I like these brushes. I've used these a lot as well. Some of my newer brushes are the Rosemary & Co. Eradicator brushes, like I showed you in that little pocket size. These are just the versions for at home. There's a medium size one for bigger bits of work, and a small size for smaller paintings. This is another new brush to me, which I'm just absolutely in love with, and I have needed this in my life for a long time. This is the Princeton Neptune Square Wash Brush. It's a 1/2 inch, and it is a mix of natural hair and synthetic hair, and it's just amazing. It does really lovely washes. The wash brush I had been using was this one, but it was a bit big for a lot of the stuff I was doing. This is the Pro Art Proline Plus, which is a synthetic blend brush. So this is a mix of synthetic and natural, and it's a bit smaller. I really love that. The other wash brushes I have had are these two, and this one is another synthetic brush. These are both synthetic. and these were just for bigger pieces, but I really didn't use it that much. You can see they're a bit old and dusty just where they've been up hidden at the top, where I just don't use them that this big, which is, you might be wondering, why the hell have you got this massive new brush then? Well, this was a bit of an accident. I wanted to try out a different kind of wash brush, and this is called like a super wash brush or something, and I saw this, they just had one size of it, and I think it was quite expensive. I think it was about 20 quid. But I splashed out on it, and I thought it was 2 centimetres. Turns out it's 2 inches. So I'm still umming and ahhing whether I should return this. I also have one of these Aquafine brushes, which is another fan brush that I don't really use. I mean, I've used them for like bushes and things before. But they're just, I don't know if I got this second hand, I think it cost me like almost nothing, or it came with some paints that I bought. So yeah, that just goes in there for storage. This one I have used quite a lot, but I think I need to get rid of it because it's a bit manky now. I'm gonna put that in my miscellaneous pot. We'll go through this pot now, seeing as I've got it here. This is my like crappy old brushes pot. Just a selection of brushes I use for getting texture really on paintings. I have no idea what these brushes are for. They're a complete different range. There's watercolour brush in there. So a lot of these watercolour brushes, there's a Pro Art Proline one that's just really, really dirty. I think I accidentally used this with acrylic and let it dry, so it's gone a bit gross. And then I've got these brushes. I think these are for acrylic. I don't know what these are for. Are these for oil? No idea. I just use them for texture and like dry brushing, really. That one is ancient. I've had that for as long as I can remember. This one I've used with oil pastel actually for like smoothing them out, which is why you can see it's still a bit oil pastel-y. I didn't clean it last time, which is really bad. Don't be me. Clean your brushes. And then this one I think is a really cool invention. Look how cool that is. This is for splattering on your artwork. So you move it around and then it splatters the paint onto the page for you. I think that's really cool, and it's way less messy than, I don't know what it is, but whenever I try and flick splatters off the paintbrush onto the page, I always get it absolutely everywhere. Sorry about the noise, it's my children. And the last 2 brushes in this are these, which I love. This is a 1 inch and a 2 inch silicone brush that I use for acrylic painting backgrounds, just for having fun with, really. They're just really fun to use. Moving on to my new brushes. These are the brushes. These are all new. I have not used any of these. These are from Rosemary & Co. And these are what I'm going to use for gouache. Now, whenever I was trying to use gouache, I was kind of getting a bit mixed up between using watercolour brushes, but then thinking they were a bit soft and had a bit too much water in, and then I didn't really have that many firm watercolour brushes. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get a set for gouache and use them just for gouache, so I don't have to think about it. And this was a bit of a treat for myself, because I don't really buy brushes often. Like I say, most of my brushes are years old. So I put these to the side. These are the Rosemary brushes. You get quite a lot of brushes in this set. It's called like the 55 gouache set or something. It's got a different selection of round and flat brushes, and these I have labelled already. So it's got a mix of natural hair and synthetic brushes, and I think a couple mixed. Yeah, look, this one's a mixed of synthetic and natural. So if I'm going to be using these with acrylic wash, I'm going to make sure I'm not using the mixed or natural hair brushes, because it'll probably ruin them. So I will try and stick with just these brushes for my acrylic wash and my actual gouache, and see how I get on. Hopefully I'm going to like them. I will let you know if I like them eventually in a video in about 3 years time, knowing me. So yeah, I think this is a gorgeous set though, and you can't really go wrong with Rosemary & Co. All of their brushes I've used, I absolutely love. So this is my gouache set of brushes. And I got these because I do really like using, I don't know, are they called rigger brushes? The longer brushes like this. especially the really thin ones for drawing really long straight lines. They're really cool. I've got one of them. I think it might be upstairs, so I'm actually missing a brush. But anyway, yeah, they're really nice brushes to use. And these are all sort of in that fashion. They are called the Silver Ultra Mini, and they're a lettering set. I just got them on Jackson's Art. So these are my new brushes, unknown, but we shall see. My acrylic brush collection is absolutely pitiful. So I started out with these brushes. Here we go, and these ones. So a mixture. These are all synthetic because they're acrylic brushes. And my acrylic brushes I've just marked with these little pink stickers to just show that I'm just going to be using them for acrylic. I started out with these brushes. These are the Daler-Rowney System 3 brushes. They're just a mix of flat, filbert and round brushes there. And I really like these for the limited acrylic painting that I have done and actually done, but you can see I haven't cleaned. This is before I really learned the importance of cleaning your brushes. And it's so important to clean watercolour brushes, even more important to clean acrylic brushes, because that stuff don't come off. We probably can get it off with spirits and whatever, but I ain't got time for that, to be honest. But yeah, it ruins your brushes. So this was my first set of brushes. And then I got these as well, I think just from an art shop. These are like soft grip brushes. I didn't really know what brushes to buy back then. I've barely used these, to be honest. And I also think these are for oil, because I remember when I did use them, I was like, this ain't going so well. Pretty sure this is for oil and this is for oil, because I think this is hog hair, which, yeah, I don't think is very good for acrylic. Another one of these bloody fan brushes that I've used this one actually quite a bit because it's a little bit stained. And I've used this one as well because it's the smallest acrylic brush I've got. But that was kind of my starter set. And yeah, it was alright, it was alright. So yeah, there's my acrylic brushes, the starter ones. Now, the most recent ones I got were, I got in again, when the art shop was closing down, these two little tiny ones just for doing like mixed media work in my sketchbook. They're both just little flat heads. I think these are just student grade Da Vinci. I just wanted something that I didn't have to care about, didn't have to worry about if it gets covered in paint or anything, not bothered. Again, these brushes are my newest brushes, despite them being a little bit dirty. This one is just another really cheap student grade synthetic brush from Da Vinci, just for messing around in, just a brush that I don't have to worry about, basically. And then these I got again from that art shop, which I loved, that closed down. These are the Pro Art Sterling brushes, and I got these for doing bigger bits of bigger acrylic paintings on canvas, because I wanted to try some longer brushes, and actually I really like them. Obviously where they're the white ones, they do stain a bit. I haven't even, did I use this? I don't think I even used it. I just used the flats. So yeah, these ones are for oil and acrylic, but I really like them. But yeah, it is weird going from like short little handles to like these massive things. But yeah, I'm quite enjoying them. So yeah, literally that is my entire brush collection. Literally just my old brushes and then my new ones I bought sort of within the last 2 years. And you know, ones like this I haven't even used. So tell me, what is your brush collection like? Do you have a huge sprawling brush collection, or are you a bit more limited and reserved with your brushes like me? Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.